We use, eat, study, and say certain things every day, and still mix them up. Similar names, look-alike images, identical packaging, sloppy translations, and definitions that have changed over time make the perfect setup for confusion. It's not just a dictionary problem. These mix-ups mess with grocery shopping, doctor visits, reading the news, school tests, and even travel plans. Today I'll walk you through 10 pairs a lot of people confuse, from animals to foods, from sky phenomena to fields of knowledge, showing where they came from, what they really are, and why they get tangled in our heads. Listen closely, because once you get the hang of it, you'll start spotting these mistakes a mile away. 1. Crocodile and alligator. They look like identical cousins, but they come from different places and families. Crocodiles live in Africa, Asia, the Americas, and Oceania, and several species tolerate brackish or saltier water. Their snouts vary by species and tend to look narrower or more tapered. Alligators are native to the Americas and China, prefer fresh water, and usually have broader, rounder snouts. Crocodile comes from ancient Greek meaning something like river lizard. Alligator traces back to a Spanish term that early colonizers used. How to use the terms right? Both are aquatic reptiles with powerful bites, but crocodiles tend to show both upper and lower teeth even with their mouths closed, while alligators hide their lower teeth better. Why the confusion sticks? Movies, toys, and park signs use generic drawings. If you're face to face with one, don't argue etymology. Look at the snout and where in the world you are. 2. Bacteria and viruses. Bacteria are single-celled living organisms with their own metabolism that can multiply on their own. Many are useful for soil, our gut, and fermented foods. Viruses are infectious agents that must enter another organism's cell to make copies. Outside a host, they don't carry out life functions independently. Bacteria comes from a Greek term for little rod. Virus comes from Latin and used to mean poison. Everyday usage, antibiotics target specific bacteria and don't work against viruses. Vaccines prepare the body for viruses and some bacteria. Why people mix them up? Both can cause illness and demand hygiene, so many assume the treatment is the same. The practical difference is huge. That's why a good medical visit asks about the full picture, not just the microbe's name. 3. Poisonous versus venomous animals. Poisonous harms you when you touch or ingest it. Venomous injects the active substance with a stinger, fangs, or a barb. A toxic mushroom is poisonous. A snake with specialized fangs is venomous. The word origins help. Poison is something present in the body that harms via contact or ingestion. Venom is something delivered by a built-in device. Use it right. If a fish has spines that inject a substance, it's venomous. If a plant makes you sick when chewed, it's poisonous. Why it's so often confused? In other languages, the distinction isn't taught much, and pop culture calls everything poisonous. Knowing the difference changes treatment. Washing and watching isn't the same as seeking a specific anti-venom. 4. Meteor and meteorite. A meteor is the streak of light you see when a fragment passes through the atmosphere and burns from friction. A meteorite is what hits the ground after that passage. The root of meteor points to what's up high, while meteorite adds the idea of what remains. Use it right. Stumble on a dark, heavy stone in a field with a burned outer crust, and you found a meteorite. Look up and see a shooting star, and you saw a meteor. Why the mix-up? Headlines toss both words around without explaining the process, and people think a meteor is always a giant rock. Understanding the sequence helps you read the news calmly and appreciate the science that tracks these objects. 5. Hurricane and tornado. A hurricane is a large-scale cyclone that forms over warm oceans and can last for days, with an eye in the center and cloud bands stretching hundreds of miles. A tornado is a rapidly spinning column of air dropping from a storm over land or near the coast, usually lasting minutes and much smaller in diameter. The names reflect the setting. Hurricanes were named along sea routes and get personal names. Tornadoes were described across farm fields and inland towns. Use it right. Hurricane advisories talk about storm surge, broad swaths of wind, and heavy rain over large areas. Tornado warnings are about taking shelter immediately from a very localized circulation. Why people confuse them? Both feature extreme winds and scary images. Without a sense of scale, they look the same. The practical difference is knowing when to evacuate ahead of time and when to shelter in seconds. 6. Magma and lava. Magma is molten rock beneath the surface, trapped in chambers and fractures within the crust and mantle. Lava is magma that has erupted, flowed across the surface, and started losing gases and heat. Magma carries the idea of a pasty mixture. Lava relates to washing and flowing. Use it right. Research on pressure and chemistry inside a volcano is about magma. Coverage of an eruption moving like a glowing river is about lava. Why the confusion? Both glow in footage and get called molten rock. The difference explains behavior. What happens inside the volcano shapes the eruption. What happens outside defines the risks to towns and farms. 7. Astronomy and astrology. Astronomy is the scientific study of celestial bodies. Observations, calculations, hypothesis testing, using tools from telescopes to space probes. Astrology is an ancient symbolic system that interprets the apparent positions of celestial bodies as influences on human life, with birth charts and signs. They were once intertwined in civilizations that watched the sky to plant, sail, and tell time. As the scientific method advanced, they split. Use it right. Astronomy publishes peer-reviewed papers and predicts eclipses, orbits, and planetary compositions. Astrology offers personality readings and symbolic guidance. Why the confusion lingers? Similar names, shared icons, constant media presence. Knowing the difference keeps you from expecting a horoscope to do what only an observatory can. 8. Jelly and compote. Jelly is fruit cooked with sugar and set into a spread that you can smear on bread. Depending on how it's made, it can be very smooth or include tiny bits. Compote is fruit cooked in syrup that keeps whole pieces or slices served in its sweet liquid. In some traditions, marmalade historically referred to a firm preparation made from quince, solid enough to slice. These techniques came from European and Middle Eastern kitchens, where preserving with sugar was prized. Use it right. Jelly is great for toast and fillings. Compote works as dessert, cheese pairing, or topping. Why the confusion? Labels blur terms and restaurants call everything jelly. Reading ingredients and texture saves your choice. 9. Probiotic and prebiotic. A probiotic is a selected live microorganism that, when consumed in adequate amounts, can support gut balance in healthy people. A prebiotic is a fiber or substance that feeds those beneficial bacteria already present, helping them multiply. The roots mean for life and before life in the sense of nourishing. Use it right. Yogurts and capsules may contain probiotics. Foods rich in specific fibers, like certain roots and fruits, provide prebiotics. Why the marketing mess? Ads lump it all together, and the public treats the words as synonyms. Understanding the duo helps build your diet. One supplies the residents, the other supplies their food. 10. Vegetarian and vegan. A vegetarian avoids meat, poultry, and seafood, but may choose to eat eggs, dairy, and honey. A vegan avoids all animal-derived foods and often steers clear of non-food products that use or exploit animals. Both movements grew in the 20th century with organized groups defining terms and practices. Getting menus and invites right matters. Cooking for a vegetarian can include cheese. Cooking for a vegan requires attention to broths, gelatin, and even some wines. Why it gets muddled? Restaurants use the terms as if they're the same, and well-meaning friends think just skip the meat is enough. Respecting the difference prevents awkward dinners and ensures everyone actually eats. If this video helped you tell apart things that only look similar, drop a comment with the pair you used to mix up and the situation where it tripped you up. Tell me which other pairs you want next. Salt and baking soda, comet and asteroid, syrup and molasses, parsley and cilantro. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming. Share it with that friend who keeps swapping names. And come along as we learn to see the world with more precision without losing the fun.